Hi everyone, welcome to You Are Your First Website. I'm Mara, I'm going to be going over today. I'm so excited to see you all here. Fun fact, I've actually been an MLH coach for a while, but I took a really long hiatus from live streaming, so I'm super excited to be back here with all y'all. If you see me looking around at multiple screens, it's just because I have a double monitor set up. I'm not quite sure where to put the webcam, but I'm so excited to see you all. I just want to check, can everyone hear me all right? See me all right? Just let me know in the chat. And also, if you can let me know in the chat where you are from. I love seeing where everyone's from, especially because MLH has such an international audience. Good morning. It's actually 6 p.m. for me, so. Yes, I will be. Actually, if you go ahead and if you see down below this little ticker, hackpack/YFW with Mara1, that is going to be the GitHub that we're using. I have the slides linked there as well as the Replit that we're going to be doing. So again, if you need to see the slides, that's what that link that's going down below is. So, I'm going to go ahead and also, we'll probably wait a couple minutes before we go. I'll just have the slides up though. I think they look a little pretty, to be honest. I did them in Canva, so I love Canva. Oh wow, a lot of people from India. So good morning to y'all. I know it's definitely, what time is it over there? I can't tell if it's really early or just a casual morning. Either way, props to y'all for being up and hopping on a stream to learn a little bit. 7:30 a.m. Dang. I do not wake up at 7:30. I do. I'm just useless for the first hour. So appreciate it. Okay. Probably give it a couple minutes. How's everyone been enjoying Global Hack Week? Have y'all done any challenges so far? Has there been a favorite live stream? I know we're only on, I think this is day 2 of our live streams. But is there anything that's really been your favorite so far? I saw earlier today, using Google Cloud with your hackathon project. I stopped by that for a little bit, so that was really cool. I love seeing all the MLHers and all the insane knowledge that they have. It's crazy. Okay. Probably give it about a couple more minutes. Well, while we're waiting, this workshop will probably take a minute, so I'll go ahead and get started, especially on kind of the introduction part. The way that this workshop will be set up is I'll go ahead and introduce myself. We'll talk about the principles of HTML for a little bit, and then we'll go into practicing HTML. We'll come back to the slides to learn a little bit about Bootstrap, and then we'll go back to that website that we created and work on the Bootstrap. So, okay, without further ado. So this is your first website. This is part 1 out of 3. The other 2 sessions are tomorrow, same time, and then Friday, an hour later. So I'm so glad you all are enjoying the sessions that we have so far. I think that's always really important. I think it's really nice to go back to basics too. I think that's part of the reason why I decided to do this workshop. But hi, my name is Mara. I have been an MLH coach since November 2020, which is crazy. I feel like MLH has been with me through all my life events, so it's crazy. Now I'm currently working as a full stack web developer. So I use React and TypeScript in my day-to-day, but I got started in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I wanted to make this workshop really focused on, the stepping stones to get to web development. Fun fact, the way I got my first internship was I made a website for a club in college. However, when I ran for this position, it was webmaster. When I ran for the position of webmaster, they were like, what experience do you have building websites? And I was like, none. I have no experiences whatsoever. But then I was like, you know what? But I'll do it this summer. So I learned HTML that summer, and within 3 days, and the help of a Bootstrap template, we actually had a website that has been the basic website for the past, I think, 3-4 years, ever since my second year of college, and I've been out for a year. So that's crazy to me. But even just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, it really makes up like the bread and butter of websites. Okay, so today we're going to do our, obviously, the intro, which we're doing right now. We're also going to go ahead and talk about coding, question mark, just like what exactly is it, depending on how beginner you are. And then we'll also talk about HTML, and we'll talk about Bootstrap, and we'll do that project in between as well. So, spoiler alert, this is the website that we're going to be making. If you notice, I have a header, I have a footer, I have a photo on the left, I have a button, I have a YouTube video, I have links, I have a list, things like that. So we'll kind of teach you like this frame, and then we'll go ahead and kind of personalize it to yourself. I think it makes a really great like personal website. And Bootstrap, honestly, this is just HTML, Bootstrap to all that design. So, okay. So let's talk, what is a website? You know, if you're online, you're using websites day to day. Right now, Twitch, technically a web app, but the basic is a website is a way to display information. So just like how mlh.io displays information, it is also a website. And fun fact, if you want to check out all the underlying code, you can actually go ahead and see all that HTML just by right-clicking and clicking inspect, and then it should pop up on the right. You do need a browser with Chromium, I believe. I'm not too sure how to do it in Safari, but this should work for things like Edge, Chrome, and Brave. Oh wow, SKB. Wow, you started in web dev and you made a WordPress homepage clone, but then you entered UI, UX and forgot all about the basics, especially JavaScript. Honestly, if I did not work with TypeScript, which is essentially fancy JavaScript day by day, I would have completely forgotten it. So, but also props to you. To answer that question, I will be leading all 3 of the sessions, but I will be splitting it up with HTML and some Bootstrap. The second, we're going to focus more on CSS and just kind of styling and working on that. And then for the third session, we'll be doing JavaScript, so we'll work on doing like a web game, but a very basic web game, like a number guessing game. Okay. So, if you don't know what HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is, it's the underlying, it's the body, okay? It's the body of a website. So if you're thinking about HTML, that's the skeleton. Think about it, if you're thinking about it in the course of a body, you need the skeleton. It's the bones, it's the bare bones. If you don't have the skeleton, you can't really do anything else. That's why we're starting with HTML in the first one, because that's going to determine what is shown on the page, that basic stuff, okay? It is the bones. The CSS is going to be the skin. The skin is what's going to make it prettier, you know, like Fortnite, Valorant, you have skins. I guess the human body, you also have skin. It's going to cover up all that skeleton and make it look even brighter and better. Then last but not least, this is also the order that we'll be doing this for like the track this week. Last but not least, we have JavaScript, which is like the muscle. JavaScript is really cool because it allows you to give the website a little more oomph. So you can do things like, that's where you can introduce that coding that you've done in other areas. You know, if you've done functions or you've done if statements, you can make the website a little more interactive, like on top of visual effects and things like that you could do with CSS. Okay, so let's talk about HTML. That being said, these slides are down here. Okay, so that Hackpack YFW with Mara 1, the slides are there. Okay, it's a GitHub. You can click the links in there. So if I'm ever going a little too fast, do not worry, because the point of these slides are, we're going to talk about it. We're going to get the basics of everything, and then we're going to go ahead and practice it. And so that practice is where we're really going to get things set up. So HTML, you have two main elements. You have the head, okay, the head, where all like the thinking is happening. And that's where all the metadata is happening, the data about data. So that's where you would like link the CSS to make it look good. That's where you would add like a title, like what shows up in like the tab of your web, like your web browser. That's where you would add any like imports and things like that. So that head is all the thinking. Then you have the body. The body is going to be like what we can actually see on the site. So I'm not going to go too in depth on the kind of like the whys of HTML. The most important thing that we're going to be focused on today is practical application, because I'm a really big believer in learning by doing. So what we're going to be working on today is we have HTML elements. So HTML is made out of things called elements. So this right here is we have a P element. This kind of pattern, this pattern over here is going to be something you're going to see quite often. We'll also reiterate this throughout the slides as well as when we practice. But this right here is the P element, the paragraph element. What you'll see is we have the opening tag, we have the content, and we have the closing tag. Think about it in this way. When you're writing an HTML, you're telling the computer, hey, you see that opening tag? In that opening tag, I'm telling you what this should, like what element this should be, what this should look like, P for paragraph, and everything after this is stuff that I want you to include in the paragraph, okay? And then it goes through all the content, keep going, until you end up at the closing tag, and then that's the code saying to the computer like, hey, we're done here, wrap it up, you know? So we're gonna see that pattern quite often. So this is some important HTML elements that we're going to be looking at today. That being said, I didn't go super in depth. This is more meant to be a cheat sheet. If you want to go ahead and take a screenshot of this right now, I highly recommend. I'll walk over these, maybe a couple sentences each, but the most important thing is that this is a cheat sheet and we will be practicing it in just a few minutes. Okay, and that practicing part is where we're going to actually, learn the most. So some really important like HTML elements is we have the paragraph that we've already spoke about. The paragraph is what's going to be like normal text and things like that. We also have H1. H1 is header 1. We have anchor, image, unordered list and ordered lists, a division element. We have our header and our footers. And then we also have strong and emphasis that are more about like decoration. Oh, is it the other way? I might have mirrored my screen, so. Okay. But does anyone have any questions so far? Probably gonna unmirror my screen too, so I can make sure I'm pointing the right way. Okay, if anyone has any questions at any point, feel free to, just go into the chat, type up whatever you want, and I'll answer as we go. That being said, definitely feel free to ask questions, especially if you have any bugs, we can work on debugging together. Okay, so let's go a little bit more in depth in all this. So H1 is a header tag. There's actually H1, H2, H3, 4, 5, and 6. Those are just basically text elements that have like different styles. So H1 is going to be probably like the biggest and boldest. We have now I'm like learning how to point. Now we have, Can you see me? We have the anchor tag, which is a link. You use that to anchor to a specific point in the web page or to another web page. Basically, it's just a link. That's what you use it for. We have the image element. I think that's self-explanatory. It has an image. So we'll practice it too. We have an unordered list and an ordered list. This one is a little tricky just because inside, so if you have an opening unordered list tag and you have a closing unordered list tag, the things in between, you want that to have list item tags. So that's also another thing that we'll practice. All this stuff we're going to practice. We have our division elements. This is essentially going to allow us to box everything up so it's a little nice and neat and easier to organize, especially as we style things. We have our header and our footer. These are just essentially fancy divs, except they're really great for web accessibility because screen readers know that it's a header or a footer rather than just a normal div. And it's just easier to read the code as well. Then we also have text decorations like the strong element and the emphasis element for bold and italics. So again, feel free to screenshot this and keep that in your pocket as we practice. So I want to make sure that everyone has had kind of understood that a little bit. So we have all these elements. Then you are right, SKB. I do need to do that. But we'll go ahead and we'll kind of go over the attributes right now. And then we'll take a quick break as well, just to kind of soak in everything. So something that's important to mention when we talk about HTML elements is that sometimes some elements will need some extra data. And the way we do that is through attributes. So inside your opening tag, you would have the attribute name. This is source. It's shortened to SRC. And then you would have that equal to something. You would assign it to a value. And then you would just close the tag. So for example, with the image, all images need some kind of source, whether it's a file name or a URL to an image. It needs to know where the photo is from. Otherwise, HTML isn't going to randomly generate an image for you. So especially things like when you have the anchor tag, you need a link. You need to know what's a hyperreference? Where is that link going? Things like that. So sometimes in your elements, you'll have to have attributes. Again, no worries if this doesn't make sense right off the bat. I'm going to repeat a lot of these vocab words and keep saying these things over and over again, as well as screen as actual code, and then we'll practice it together. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do it. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go check Discord and make sure that everyone who wants to get on here can. And feel free to, this is the time to go pull up that link down there that says Hackpack YFW with Mara 1. So make sure to go ahead and pull that up. So that GitHub there, and I'll actually go pull it up myself. Okay. So I'm gonna give you all a couple minutes to do that. Just pull it up, and then I want everyone to get to actually go ahead and click here to see the REPL, and let me go ahead and share the screen where I will actually be coding. Go ahead and add that up. and pull that up. And then whenever you're ready, click fork REPL. Okay, I'm gonna leave the screen up for a little bit and I'll be back in just 1 minute, okay? Okay, I am back. Thank you for bearing with me. I also want to say, make sure that you check in to this workshop. I've just gone ahead and posted the link to the, I've gone ahead and posted the link on the Discord. Okay, so if you're wondering how to get here, first, what you'll do is you'll go to that link down there, okay? It says hackpack YFW with Mara 1. Okay, that's gonna be the first part of our series. Spoiler alert, the rest of them just say 2 and 3 after it. You're gonna go to that link. That should ideally put you onto the GitHub. And then after the GitHub, you're gonna go ahead and click here to see the replit. So let me scroll down to make sure you can see it. Okay, so after you click that link, that should land you on this webpage. Okay, so now what we're gonna go ahead and do is we are going to fork this bad boy. So let me refresh, see. Okay, I see y'all. See y'all fork this. Okay, let's fork it. I'm gonna rename it something like Global Hack Week. I'm gonna put Jan 2022. 2023! It's a new year. What am I doing? Okay. Oh, Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone is having a really good new year. Hope it was a good start. I've started planning my year in 12 weeks, like quarters. It's very corporate, but it's working. I feel very productive. Okay, so if you notice, we're here. The website is blank. There is nothing here. And that is A-okay. We're gonna go ahead and work through this together. So let me go ahead and... So a big thing that we wanna do to begin with is we are going to work on just figuring out what HTML elements do we want, just because that's how we're gonna organize everything. We're gonna have 48 lines of code and that's it. So can anyone remind me, where do we put the code that we wanna see on the web page? Inside what element do we put the code that we wanna see on the web page? Y'all, 2023 is for learning. We have two main elements. We have the head element and we have the body element. Yes, what's Senair? Please let me know how to pronounce your Twitch names. There's one thing that I am bad at is that. But yes, we are going to put the stuff that we want to be seen in the body element. So let's go ahead and without further ado, we're gonna get started on that. Okay, So first things first, let's kind of map out everything that we want. I'm going to comment things. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to Mac. I don't know if that's, I love Mac. I actually got water inside my laptop screen today, so I'm using my husband's, but I love Mac. Okay, so I'm doing command and then the slash that's under your question mark, but if you're on Windows, you can do control slash. So that's, so that slash, this slash. Yeah. Also, coding on a Mac with a Microsoft keyboard is low-key kind of confusing, but it's worth it. So I'm going to kind of put things like, what exactly do I want? So if we look back at this completed view right here, there's a couple things. So I have a header. So I want a header. I want a footer. And this, don't worry too much about the commenting. You don't have to do it, but it's just more so like we can organize and figure out what we want together. What else do we want? We want a photo of ourselves so people can see who we are. So in between the header and footer, we'll have photo of me. And what else? Then we'll want some like about me. About me. And then it looks like we'll want to have a list of goals because, you know, new year, new me and all that. List of goals. That is not goals. Okay. List of goals. And then we'll want like maybe a button for our social media so people can get to know us a little bit. So follow me button. And then we're going to go ahead and put let's say like a YouTube video. That's our favorite. I do YouTube on the side. But just more about introducing something called an iframe. Okay. So does anyone remember how we can add a header to our website? What is the element name of the header? It's not a trick question. I'm just tossing this out to you. So these are all very good options. So it's actually header. That's what we're going to use. This header is essentially a container. So that way it's really good for web accessibility because screen readers can read this and be like, oh, hey, yo, that's a header. And you're also right with this because that's what we're going to put inside of it. So I love this. Y'all are so smart. Look at you go. Learning. Okay. So header. If you notice, what I'm using like the arrow brackets. What's really cool about Replit is it does autocomplete. So if you're lazy like me and don't feel like typing, perfect. So inside of our header, let's figure out what we want to say. We can kind of say whatever. I think I'm just going to say, hi, I am Mara. I feel like that's pretty good. It's a pretty good thing. So H1 is normally for titles in the body. Yeah, honestly, you're right. But I think for the point of it, just the way we're going to organize it, I'm just going to have the only header, like the only H1 we have up in the body. What's really important, though, is that we also have just one H1, just because that's really going to help with your SEO. That's, if you know what that word means. It's more about marketing that comes later. Okay, so next up, if we want to introduce a photo, can anyone give me what what element that we're going to use for a photo, and if there's any attributes? What element would we use for a photo, and are there any attributes? Okay, look at you go. Okay, I'm going to choose Next one. Okay. So we're going to do image and we're going to do source. So the way we're going to do that is, I also just want to make sure no one said anything, but can y'all see everything like clearly? Is it a big enough screen for you, or do you need me to zoom in? Because I could do either if needed. Just let me know in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and continue to type. So go ahead and do that. So image, source, and then this is fancy. It's called a self-closing tag. So instead of like having an opening and closing tag, you can just put a slash at the end and it closes itself. So fancy. Ooh, this is fancy. I'm willing to sidebar for this. Do y'all know what this means? Like, what does this create? Wumbo combo. Just don't say what it says. Someone else say what it creates. I can zoom for you 100%. If I learn how to zoom. Okay. Let me know if this is good. Yes, Infinity. It is a link image, which is really cool. Yeah, once the image is, so that means once the image is linked, it links to the href, which is the web page or link that we're trying to go to. We won't necessarily use it right now, but keep that in mind. I think people always wonder how to make their images a button, and this is how to do it, y'all. We're not going to be doing it today, but I think it's cool enough to point out. Okay, so this is where we're going to go ahead and have an image. At this point, you can go ahead and add a new file, and that new file is going to be whatever photo you want. Because I spilled water on my laptop, and I do not have my own laptop, I will actually be just stealing my photo from. I will be stealing my photo from GitHub. So download that. I'm going to copy the image address actually. Okay, let's go ahead and run it. Let's put in rice. Fun fact, I actually have it open next to, I have like forced air heaters. So I have it open next to my heater right now. But yeah, if it doesn't fix it soon, I think I am just going to put in rice. Thank you. Thank you for the concern. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is, there's a couple of things here. So one, for source, you can either add an image, so add a new file, and then just put the image name there. So I'll actually show you an example of that with step2.png. So you can either put the file name there after you've uploaded it to a REPL, or you can put the image URL. Because I already have this on GitHub, I can just use the image URL. You can also use a lot of other like free sites. One of my favorite is Pexels. Yeah, Pexels. And so it's like best free stock photos, royalty images, videos, whatever. Look at these are angsty. So if you don't want to add like a photo of yourself, this is also a very valid website to pull from. So I'm going to go ahead and link that down below if anyone wants to use that. And you can also like look stuff, whatever. They have like dogs and whatnot. So now to kind of like test our website, test our code, I'm going to save and it's going to run. There are a couple of problems here. One, the header's there. That's nice. We love the header. Looks good. Says exactly what I wanted to say. However, you see approximately so much of this corner. So that's a really tall image. We don't necessarily like that. Also, if you notice this text down here, this is a screenshot of step 2. So if you'll notice, both of these images work. Yeah, so the image size is wrong. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another attribute to kind of help us out with this, especially like temporarily at least. And the way we're going to do that is somewhere in that, somewhere in this opening tag, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do width equals, and I'm just going to say 100 pixels. This is basically saying like, hey, when you pull up this image, make sure that its width is 100 pixels. So see, that's a bit small, but I don't want to leave it too big for now. Okay, so that's how we're going to do the photo. You can put whatever size you want. I wouldn't worry too much on the specifics, especially because we have a lot more to add on. You could use GIMP. Are you talking about to like change the photo size and things like that? Because yes and no, you could technically do it, but it is a lot faster and easier to just change the change it in the width, like as an attribute in the code. But yeah, that's definitely viable. Okay, so next we're going to have a about me. I am going to copy and paste this. Copy and paste my first 2 paragraphs. You can put whatever you want in here. This is my little, I keep forgetting that I'm on a Mac using. Okay, so this is my little about me. So what I've gone ahead and done is you take a paragraph tag, you open it, you close it, and you put whatever you want in the middle, whatever text you want. So I'm gonna go ahead and read a little bit about me while y'all work on your own paragraphs. But hi, I'm a software engineer at Microsoft. I started back in June 2022. So I'm about 6 months now, which is crazy. I graduated with a computer science degree and love education. I TA'd a bunch of different classes in college, and I also started a Girls Who Code college loop so I could bring together women who code. And it's not just CS centric, it's very much like also stats or data science and things like that. We even have like a few chemistry majors, which is super cool. The reason I'm creating this curriculum is to help people kind of make their own website because it was my personal gateway into coding. So I really hope that y'all leave here learning something that you hopefully enjoy. So now I'm a full stack web developer and I work with React and TypeScript, which is essentially just fancy JavaScript created by Microsoft. So that's my little about me. You can do whatever you want. You can make it as big, you can make it as small. It's just make it a filler and then come back to it later. So let's say, man, I have a lot of stuff I want to talk about. 2 paragraphs, it doesn't do it for me. I have to have a third. So what we'll go ahead and do is we will make another key element, another paragraph element. So can someone remind me, what is a paragraph element used for? While we're doing that, I'm going to type up my basics. So I'm going to say, I also run my own social media, like Instagram, and TikTok. How much do I use TikTok? I don't know. I feel like I'm addicted. I definitely try to get away. And even have a YouTube. Okay. So a paragraph tag, yes, it's used for creating sentences. Yes, but it gets into a little more detail than we want to right now. But essentially, yeah, it just creates sentences inside whatever element you have. Yeah, that's essentially it. It creates a paragraph. Okay. Oh, side note question. Just a question, if we use Tailwind CSS Bootstrap in these CSS libraries, we don't have to give a CSS file. I've never used these libraries and always used the custom CSS. I see you getting ahead of the curve. Actually, so if you notice, this website looks a little different from like a basic website because I already actually have Bootstrap in here. And the way you do that is I just have this link to a style sheet. here. So I actually left this in. This does not actually matter. I just left it in from the template. But this right here is actually where we get access to the Bootstrap. So if you see, it's a link. The relationship is a style sheet, and it references this link right here, which is like the Bootstrap CSS files. And so, yeah, that's all that information. So if you're using something like that, you probably just have to link it here. You can download the CSS files. They have like a compact version, but just for like ease, I just have the link. So if you actually notice, I'm gonna go ahead and delete this really quick and then run it. And I'm gonna show you like what Bootstrap is doing. So you notice like, not the cutest, but you know, she's still cute. Okay. So I'm gonna put that back up. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. So I just got this link. I just looked up like Bootstrap and it gives you the link. So it's pretty available online. Okay. So what I put a lot of information. So one of these informations that I put was that I run my own socials, or I run my own, I guess social media would be the more appropriate end sentence. If I could spell. And then I have these social links. So like my Instagram, my TikTok, my YouTube, but I'm not actually linking to them. So if I want to link to them, how do we do that? If I want to link to them, what element do I use? What are we thinking? What element do I use so I can link to my social media? I see you. You're on top of it. Yeah, we're gonna use our anchor tag. And bonus points, I mean, if we were keeping track, what attribute? Oh, I actually see that. So this is the whole element with the attribute that we need. So to kind of put this in an example, I'm gonna do an A tag. I'm going into, you can do this however you want. I just like doing it like this. So I put the opening tag and then the closing tag. So I've actually run this. Oh, I actually gotta put something in the hyperreference. So I'm gonna put Instagram, probably Instagram.com, and then, okay. So if I run that, you'll see that everything in between this Instagram at milk, it is now a link. So then I can go ahead and do that to the rest. So go ahead and add in your link wherever you want it. If you want to do your social media as well, you can include that. So I just think social media is an easy thing to link to, but you know, if you have a Twitter or anything, I know Twitter is pretty big. You can add to, I don't know, a collection of dog photos. I love dog photos. And then I'll even add to actually maybe I won't add to my Instagram, TikTok. That's good. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and save, and saving it should automatically run it. Does anyone have any questions so far? We've added a couple lines of code. You know, we're up to 38, and by the time we get to 64, we will have a whole completed website. I mean, technically this is completed as well, but any questions so far? I just want to check before we move on to the next thing. Okay. Again, feel free to send any questions. I just want to make sure that we take a little break when we need it. Okay. Let's go. So now what we're going to do is we are going to make a list of goals. Oh, also sometimes what I like to do to make things a little fancy is there's this thing called HR, which honestly, I do not remember what HR stands for. So bonus points to whoever. Actually, I think it's a horizontal ruler. If anyone wants to fact check for me, I would appreciate it. But we're gonna go ahead and add this horizontal ruler. I'm just gonna. All it does is like, it has like a line through the page. I just think it looks cool and fancy and helps like divide things up. It's definitely more like a style choice, but it's like a cool thing that you can do with an HTML element. You know, of course, as with everything, don't go crazy, but okay. So now what we're gonna go ahead and do is we are going to have a list of goals. So I want to go ahead and I want to give this page like a title. I want to give this section a title, but I don't want it to be as big as the hi, I'm Mara. So what is an element that we can use that will give this a title, but it won't be as large as hi, I'm Mara, but still bigger than a paragraph tag? And then also, while we're at it, if someone could share how I can make some text bold, I would appreciate it. How? Oh. Oh. Oh my God, what's up? New face, new ad. Love that. It is actually H2. That is exactly what I wanted. So we are going to add a H2. So I want this to be a header, like I want this to be a title. I just don't want it to be as large as, you know, the title of my website, which is Hi, I'm Mara. So we're gonna call this 2023 goals because, you know, new year, new me. Count how many times I say that. And we can separate it into a couple things. So we can do, we're gonna give these like also titles, but I don't want it to be as big. I don't want to change like the size or anything. I just want these essentially to look like paragraphs, but bold. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm going to do strong. So you can make whatever goals you want. I'm gonna say professional. Ooh, that's not how you spell. I'm gonna do professional. And I like to keep these ones all on the same line. And I'm gonna go ahead and do professional and personal. So it used to be B for bold, but now they use strong. So that's something. It changed a little bit, but it does the same thing. You use it the same exact way. It's just strong now instead of B. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run this. Let's see what we got so far. Oh my goodness, look. We have text, but we don't have a list. And it's not a very good goal list. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make two different types of lists. One is a bullet point list. Okay, who can tell me how to make a bullet point list, and who can tell me how to make a numbered list? If you can tell me what the official terms for it are as well, I will color me impressed. Okay, yes, we have the bullet list and we have the numbered list. So yeah, so ordered list, and this is unordered list. Look at you two on top of it. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is you can do whatever you want. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make my professional goals unordered. And then I'm gonna prep my personal goals and I'm gonna make that ordered. Okay. So now we have to have something inside these lists. We have to have an element that like to have these list items. So what we're going to actually do is we are going to use list item, the list item element. So that is L for list, I for item. So, and that's what we're going to use to type. So my professional goals are, let's figure out, what do I want to do professionally this year? Theoretically, I should have planned this way ahead of time. And I do, but I feel like I could do better. Maybe my professional goals, one of my goals would maybe get 100 followers on Twitter. I think that would be cool. I think that would be funky fresh. What's another goal that I have? At this time, also, please write some goals of yours as well. Make this personal to you. This is your website. So what is another? Because, like a list with just one thing doesn't have to be a list. At that point, that's just some text. Get 100 followers on Twitter, and then another professional goal would be do more live streams. I love live streams. I would love to teach one day, and I think these are a really good way to do that. I mean, teach one day, like in a more official capacity. I think these are great ways to start teaching now. Okay, so now we scroll down. Ooh, how do we scroll? Now we scroll down, and we'll see that we have our professional list. Now I'm going to come up with a personal goals. So personal goals, one thing I want to do this year is I want to spend more time with friends and family. This is number one. Okay. Number two, I want to explore the city more. I just moved to a new city about 6 months ago, and I have not even seen the most touristy thing here. So I definitely have to do that. So now if we go ahead and run it, save it, whatever, if you scroll down, you're going to see that if you choose to have two lists, or if you did 2 bullet point lists or 2 ordered lists or whatever, you'll have professional goals and you'll have personal goals, whichever one, up to you. Okay. So now let's go ahead and we want a follow me button. Follow me button. There is like a button element. However, I prefer just using links and then styling them to look like buttons, which is something that's very easy to do with Bootstrap that we'll introduce later. So let's go ahead and I'll just make a link that links to my Twitter. Because, if I'm going to have one of my professional goals to be get 100 followers on Twitter, I gotta ask people to follow me. So I'm going to say, follow me on Twitter. This YouTube video, I'm going to block out for now. I'm going to worry about it later. And then for the footer, I'm just going to say something cute, like, thank you for checking out my website. We run it. What does it look like? Wow! Look at that. It's simple. It's cute. It's only exactly 50 lines of code. Okay. Does everyone feel good for having their HTML elements down? If they feel good, then we're going to start to introduce some media elements like, like the iframe to have the YouTube video. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is a little tangent just because I think YouTube videos inside websites always seem like, I'm like, ooh, that's fancy. It's actually really super easy to do. And so the way I'm going to do it is, give me one moment, I'm just going to pull up YouTube first and make sure that I'm not accidentally doxing myself, because that do be a thing. I've definitely, unfortunately, done that before, so always be careful. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to So go on YouTube and go to YouTube and find your favorite YouTube video. Unless you have a YouTube account and you also want to share it. Okay. So this is my YouTube account, or my YouTube video that I want to share. So the way I'm going to share it is, again, make sure you all have a YouTube video. Just find your favorite one. I love watching videos where people, like the Jubilee and cut videos. I love those. I love like human studies and whatnot, but I do vlogs. So if you want, you can go ahead and press share on your favorite YouTube video. Then you're gonna go ahead and click embed. Isn't this cool? You're just embedding the video. If you use Notion, you're pretty familiar with this. You can scroll down for like information, but essentially all you need to do is press this copy right here. It's going to copy this iframe. Iframe is essentially a fancy way of embedding something into your HTML. It's an iframe element. And so I'm just going to put that there, and I'm going to paste. We'll save that, and then we'll scroll down. And look at that. Look at that. We have a YouTube video embedded. Okay, so far what we should have is we should have a header. We should have an image. We should have some text. We should have some links. We should have a header 2. We should have some bold text. We should have, a list, unordered or ordered, another link, an iframe, YouTube embed, and then a footer down here. Okay. Now, all that's left is the styling. Okay. Now, I don't want to go too in depth and teach CSS right now, because CSS, I think, can get a little complicated. It opens a little can of worms. So I will be doing that tomorrow, same time though. So what we're going to actually use, which is, to be honest, easier, is we are going to use Bootstrap. So just like in your local area, hopefully, if you have a library is full of really great resources. And Bootstrap is no different. Bootstrap is a library that's filled with all this code that is packaged and easy for you to use, so you can make your website look even better. Okay, let's go ahead and pull that. Go ahead, pull that up. So we're gonna go back to the slides right now, by the way. Just want to make sure everyone at a good stopping point, or good point, get all the HTML items that they want down. So I'm not hearing any objections. So let's get to it. Okay. So Bootstrap is a framework. Framework is essentially a bunch of code that allows developers to reuse and make it a little easier. But the official thing is it's a framework that web developers use to make their websites more responsive and mobile friendly. So responsive means that if you're on a big monitor or you're on a tiny phone, the website still looks good either way. This uses CSS and JavaScript. We're going to mostly notice the CSS functions. Who has actually heard of Bootstrap before? Who's heard of it? Okay, we got one. It's okay if you haven't heard of it though. You've heard of it, but you didn't use it. That's a-okay. That's what we're gonna be doing today. Heard and never used it. Okay, I love that. I love when people hear things and they haven't used it, because that means we get to all use it together. So, okay, that's really exciting. Okay, so the part of Bootstrap that we're going to use right now is we are going to specifically be using their Bootstrap grid system. So the great thing about this is that it's responsive. It can change. it can change like the number of columns, the way it looks based on how large the screen is. There are 12 columns, so there's 12 total column units available. So columns are the vertical ones. And there are different views, so just like essentially responsive, but you can have different column numbers based on the size of your screen. Is Tailwind CSS also the same like Bootstrap? To be honest, I want to say yes, but I have not really used Tailwind, so I cannot confidently answer that. But I can always Google it afterwards too. Okay. So the way we're going to do this, again, like HTML, is that we're mostly going to jump straight in. So with the Bootstrap grid system, the way we're going to do it is we're going to label it with this col6. It's column, hyphen, and then how many units you use. So if you look here, col6, there's 12 total units. So you're doing 6 out of 12, or half. So col6 takes up half the page. If you have 2 col6s, they take up the whole page right next to each other. You can also combine it in different ways. You can do col3 and col9, which 3 out of 12 is 1/4, and then 9 out of 12 is 3/4. So 25-75 split. You can also do more than 2 columns next to each other. You can even do 3. You could technically do up to 12, but I cannot find a great reason for why you'd want 12 columns. So for our cases, we're going to focus more on 2 or 3 columns. So you can do col4, which is essentially a third. And you can do that 3 times for a full page. So you might be wondering, how do I make sure that my HTML knows like, hey, I want to use Bootstrap? That's where we introduce something called classes. So classes are a way that HTML can communicate with CSS. Just like how, like, when you guys, if y'all ever played, like, have you ever played in, like, played dodgeball or some kind of game in PE in gym class where you had to wear jerseys and they have different colors? The way I want to explain this is, imagine your gym teacher splits you up. You're like, jerseys. Yeah, I guess. Your gym teacher is like, okay, hey, everyone on the right over there, you are team blue. Take the blue jerseys. You over there are team yellow. Take the yellow jerseys. And then they can go ahead and say like, okay, blue team, do this, this, and this. Yellow team, do this, this, and this. Just like how you can divide, you have multiple, like you can say multiple classes in like a gym class that you put into like different teams and whatnot. You can do the same thing with like HTML. So instead of jerseys, we assign them classes, class names. And with those class names, we can tell them what they should look like, what to do. So for example, for this, what we have to do is we would give a class name that says col6 and col6, and then we would have something that looks like this, where one div is half on the left and one div is half on the right. One thing I also want to mention is that HTML, like by default, does columns. If you notice when we were like working on our HTML website, it just went from top to bottom. So before we can have columns, because columns don't really do anything if everything already is a column, we want to make sure that it's a row. And you might be like, Mara, why do these classes mean anything? They don't. These classes mean nothing. The only reason they mean anything is because we have already given the Bootstrap link up at the top in the head, which I showed earlier and I'll show again. Hi, welcome. Welcome, Alvin. Okay. Whew. This, again, is a cheat sheet. Please do not expect to have this all down and be like, oh my God, I remember that. Amazing. This is meant for you to screenshot. And also, again, the slides are down there. So if you want to have them up later, that's perfectly okay. We'll go ahead and talk through them. These are different classes that you can do and what they do in their variations. So let's kind of go over that. Container. I feel like they know why. Container is really great for having kind of consistent spacing. If you notice, what we'll end up doing is it will give some margins. So that way not everything is like smushed against like the left or smushed against each other and has, some spacing. And then by calling them all container, you're having like the same amount of spacing. You don't have to have a bunch of like, oh, I want this margin to be 10 pixels and this margin, oh, should I do 10 or 15 pixels? You can just do a container and it'll be the same amount of pixels and it'll adjust for whether you're mobile or small screen or big screen or whatever. Okay. We also have row. Row is used to put everything in a row, which if you look at the variations, it then tells you like different like column variations that you can do with your rows that help. M dash and like a number 1 through 5 is your margin. P is your padding. Margin and padding is spacing. If you have a box, padding, okay, if you have a box and you have this inside. So my hands are the border, this is the content. Padding, adding padding to the top would be adding space above the content inside the box. Adding margin to the box means that this can't get any lower, so it means increasing the space. So no padding, no margin. I up the margin, then the space outside the border gets bigger. Or I up the padding and the space under the border and like between the border and the content then gets bigger. So we'll play around with that. I think it's also, there's a lot of different diagrams too that we can check out as well if you're still confused on that. Next, we have background. So this is where Bootstrap gets it's pretty simple and pretty easy. You can use it to change like the background and the text color. They have a lot of different options. They have like primary, which is blue. They have error, which is red, success, green, info, which I think might be like an aquamarine, but they have different options. They have warning, which is also yellow. Then we also have button. Button, BTN, it's just button without a bunch of extra letters. Button will make your links look like buttons, and then button dash allows you to change the size or style or color. So we'll play around with those. Oh, actually, really quick. Again, please screenshot or pull it up on the GitHub or anything, just to make sure you have this for reference. I think it'll really help. We'll play around with this in just a bit. Okay. So this is how we connect Bootstrap to HTML. You don't actually have to do it. It's already done for you, but this is what you would do. You would put this into the head. And the reason I found that link href, relationship, cross origin and everything, I found that just by going to the Bootstrap website. I just looked up how to connect Bootstrap with HTML. Fun fact, a lot of coding is just Googling things, even when people know them. Sometimes I'll still Google how to make a for loop. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's switch screens. Let's go back to coding. How's everyone feeling? Is anyone feeling a little overwhelmed, or do you feel excited to learn to play with Bootstrap? I hope it's excited. I hope it didn't scare any y'all. I think really also after this, we'll also talk about ways that we can keep building our website and if anyone has any questions, especially when it comes to like basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, I am happy to chat because we'll definitely have some time left over. I wanted to make sure we had plenty of room and we weren't going over time. Okay. It's exciting. We're on step 4 now. Okay. Whew. This is going to be a lot. Bootstrap, this is where we get confusing. I am not sharing the screen with you. No, let's add that in. Okay, perfect. Okay. So, let's start off a little easy. Let's play around with the header. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do class. We're going to do a class name. Okay, let's see who remembers or who pulled up the cheat sheet. How do I make the background the primary color? And primary in this case is like defined by Bootstrap and it's like a blue color. But what class name do I want to give the header to make the background the primary color? BG. So that's the first half. We're going to do BG, and then we are going to hyphen. We're going to put a hyphen. Oh, look at you. Okay. Ghost has got it. We're going to do BG primary, and we're going to run that. Let's see what happens. Look at that. It's primary, but she's not cute. So how do we want to make her cute? We're going to, instead of black, I don't know, personally, I love dark backgrounds with color or with like white on top. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to make the text light. Can anyone guess what class name that we would do to make text light? Hey John, what's up? Hope you're having a good day or a good night. Pretty late on the East Coast. So if I want to make my text light, this is pretty similar. Oh, okay. Ghost, look at Ghost. Bootstrap expert. Oh, you came in with 2 options, text light or text white. And honestly, both are valid. I will personally just be using text light. I'm going to do text light. And the way you would actually add multiple classes is you just put a space between them. You put them in the same string, you just put the space. It's easy peasy. And so if we run that, then we'll go ahead and you'll notice the color will change. I'm going to mess around with the color for the rest of the items. And then I'm still going to have to come back and like change some stuff. Actually, you guys decide. Would you rather me change the color of the rest of the things, or would you rather me to finish styling the header before we move on? If we finish styling the header, we'll introduce like a couple more class names, or we can finish up using these class names. So what do you think would be best for you personally? I know we got a pretty comfy crowd. Okay, there's a vote for finish styling the header. I'm gonna wait for someone to agree or disagree, and we'll see how that goes. So this Wombo combo saying finish styling the header. SK also header styling. Ghost. Okay, this seems pretty. Okay, let's go. So what? Okay, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. What do you think looks bad about the header? You're not gonna hurt my feelings. Unless you do. And I cry really easily, so I'm kidding. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. It looks kind of ugly, but I'm gonna say it's on purpose. So what is something that you think I should change about the header to make it look better? Just with your eyes. What do you think? Okay. You're right, but that wasn't one of the things I wanted to change. We can change it. There's like limited colors with Bootstrap that I won't pull up right now, but I'll change it to green. You'll also probably think it looks ugly, to be honest. That's green. I don't know. Maybe it matches the trees in the background. Okay, let's center the header. So we're gonna introduce another class. And oh my goodness, this one, you'll be so shocked. You'll like read the class name, you'll be like, oh my God, what does this even do? It's gonna be text center. Oh my goodness, what does this even do? It centers the text. That's it. It's one of my favorite classes. It's so much easier. I'm glad the color fits you a lot more. You know, that's what we're here for. We're here to make things easy peasy. Okay, say padding +2. Okay, let's check it out. Let's do some padding. So let's do that in the header because we want the padding in the header. So that way there's more green. We don't, yeah. So let's do P and let's do, I tested this out before. I did 3. I landed on it. I kind of liked it. Thoughts? How are we feeling? She great? She great or what? Anything else? Anything else you want to talk about or no? Because I'm down to play around with a couple things. But if not, it's fine. Okay, better. Good. Okay. So I think this is good on the header for now. So let's go ahead and let's clean up something else. Let's do the same thing, but let's do it for the footer. So I'm gonna add pretty much the same thing. I'm gonna do BG. I'm gonna do secondary just because I know that makes it black, or not black, it makes it gray. I'm gonna do text light. I'm gonna do text center. I'm gonna do P3. And that's gonna do a bunch of things. That essentially just makes it say thanks for checking out my website. So that's a couple classes. So now we're practicing, you know, now we know like how do we change what the background color is? How do we change what the text color is? How do we change like whether the text is center or not? And how do we add padding? So now we know those 4 things. We know them pretty comfy. Trying to think anywhere else. Trying to see if there's anything else that we'd go over before we start doing the grid system. Okay. Background color. Yeah, background color, that's specifically with CSS, which is also really great. However, we're not going over CSS today, but we'll definitely go over that tomorrow when that session is. Okay, so now, one last thing before we start going to the grid system to like start to puzzle piece this website together and make it a little bit better. We're actually going to go ahead and make this follow me on Twitter a button. So what class name should I add to this to make this look like a button? I'm gonna give you some time to think on that. What class name do I add to make this look like a button? I keep looking at like the food in the YouTube video and I just keep thinking about dinner. I made like a Tuscan bean and kale soup yesterday, so I'm really excited to have that again. If anyone cooks, I love recipes. Feel free to tweet me your favorite recipes, I'll learn them. Okay, close. Not quite. The class name is going to be, oh, you followed up. The class name is going to be button, but with less letters. Okay, so let's find the class. Okay, we just do button. We're gonna run that. And we're gonna scroll down. Oh. We're also gonna add like what the color is. I think we want success because that matches the header. Ideally, this should work. Otherwise, that would be embarrassing. Oh, look at that! Look at that, she worked! Yeah, so you're gonna do button, and then if you want to introduce a little color, you can do button like dash, primary, secondary, info, warning, success. Wait, okay, primary, secondary, info, warning, success, error, black, and white. And I think there's one more that I can't remember. I think there's 9 total. But yeah, so you can add whatever. Yeah, so that's how we do the buttons. Now we're gonna go over the grid section, the grid system. The grid system, I think, is single-handedly one of my most favorite things about Bootstrap, just because it makes things a lot better. Oh, I'll do button info. Why not? You know? I highly recommend that you make your things match just for consistency, but like, we're more here to have fun. So it's info. Oh, info's kind of pretty. But I think I'm also going to text light. I changed that color. I don't like the black on the color. Okay. Oh, and that matches like Twitter because it's blue. I love that. Thank you. Who name? I feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong, but please correct me the best you can. Okay, so now we're gonna kind of let's go over how we're going to, let's go over this website and how we're gonna put it together. So one thing that we have to do first is we have to put everything together. We have to bundle everything up. Forget about Bootstrap. What is the HTML element that will be great for bundling everything up? I'm also going to use this to hide. What is the HTML element that would be good for bundling everything up? We haven't used it yet, but it is on the original HTML element cheat sheet. I love that. Div. So we're gonna divide it all up with the division element. So I'm gonna do the opening tag before the photo of me. Okay, I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna scroll down, and after the iframe, I'm gonna add the closing. If you notice, like when we reload it, it doesn't do anything to it like visually, but it allows us to eventually do stuff to it visually. So what do we want to do? We have this whole thing, but let's split it more into specific parts. So together, I just want to make this class name container, just because right now it's really pushed onto like the left side. There's no like padding or anything or margins or whatnot. So I'm just doing container so it looks a little bit better. Wow, now there's a little bit of space on the left side, which I do appreciate on the left and right side. Okay. So next, let's think about what do I want in one row. I think I want everything above this line in one row. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a div surrounding just those things. So that is going to be before the image, and I'm going to do the opening tag, and then before the HR, the horizontal ruler, I'm going to do the closing tag. Okay. And so right now it's all in a column, but I want them side by side. I want them in a row. So the way I'm going to do that is class row, and then we save, and then we'll see it look kind of ugly. So, oh, this doesn't look great. It looks arguably worse than before. So how do I make it better? If we have a bunch of rows, what do we want? That's not rhetorical. That's sending that out into the chat. We have a bunch of rows. What do we want? We have rows, and then we have something else in the Bootstrap grid system. We have rows, and then we have, it starts with a C. We have columns. Yes. And right before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and answer this question. Where did I put the outermost div closing? I put it right before footer. So far we have like two divs. One is nested inside of each other. One is for everything after the header and before the footer. And then inside we have something for like the top section before the horizontal ruler. Spoiler alert, we're going to do the bottom section soon, but okay. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do columns. So I'm going to make more divs, and whatever I want in that column, I'm going to put it into a div. So I know I want the image to be in one column. Let's highlight this. I want the image to be in one column, and then I want the about me to be in another column. Okay. And what I'm going to do is, oh, so this is a cool thing. If you just do call, I believe it should automatically just like based on the amount of like columns that they are, should automatically know how big you want it spaced. So that's something that we can do. But just because I like to be very specific and make the code easier to read, I'm going to do call 6 and call 6. Just look the same. Will this session be available on Twitch later? I believe it will. I believe it'll be available through like the VOD. Also, if you want, like the GitHub has different branches as well for different steps. So if you need to see like the difference, you can see it there as well. Okay. So now that I have like a column for the photo, I'm just going to make the width like 100%, just because I'm not like super worried about it. And look, now it's perfectly resized to half. Don't we love that? Isn't like, I think there could use like some more spacing. I think honestly, before the row, I think I want like some margins on the top. So I'm gonna do MT. Oh, I'll see you later. Bye. Maybe add a margin under the header. Yeah, we can do that. Thank you for tuning in. Also, for anyone like wondering, this is the last bit that we're gonna do. We're gonna clean up everything with Bootstrap, and then we'll have it all. I know we're starting to like near the end of time. Props to everyone who's been here for an hour and a half. Okay, so we're gonna add a margin under the header. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do margin M, B for bottom, and dash, and then I'm just gonna pick a random number and we'll test it. I'll do 2. That's an okay amount of space. I think I just like a little bit more. I think I really like things to be separate. So I'm gonna do 3. M, B, 3. Look at this. It's already looking so great. Okay, and all we're adding is stuff into the class. We're not even adding lines of code. We're just adding characters in the lines. So, okay, so I'm gonna call this top part. I like it. I think it looks pretty solid. I'm gonna leave it. So let's say we're done with this top part. Now what we wanna do is, I wanna do that 2-column thing again, but I wanna do it with the goals and the YouTube. So like this, so this is kind of what I want it to end up looking like. Oh, I now realize that I put the photo on the left hand and put everything else on the right. You know what? Arguably, I like that more. So I'm gonna actually go back to fix that. So the way I'd edit this is that instead of having this div right here that I used for the row, so that div that was right above the horizontal ruler that matches this this row right here, I'm gonna put that at the end. I'm gonna put that right before the div that matches the container. And then what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm going to move the div that matches this right here, this one right here, and I'll move that down below all the way to the end right after that YouTube sign, the YouTube video. And I'm gonna change the spacing so it's gonna be more like 25%, 75%. So instead of half, 6, 6, I'm gonna do 3, 9. And let's hope. Because the funky thing about HTML is that unlike all the other programming languages, the error message is actually just what you see on your screen. The error message, it's not, you don't get something nice and red that goes, oh, hey, you can't find this variable. It just looks ugly. So that's the fun part about HTML. Okay, so this is what it looks like so far. But what I do want is I want to have my 2023 goals on the left-hand side with like this follow me, and then I want the YouTube video on the right-hand side. So can someone tell me how I would do that? And this is going to be the last thing, by the way. So how would I do that? How would I have the 2023 goals on the left half and the YouTube video on the right half? What would I do? Probably start out with divs. So around my goals, I would just do a div right under the horizontal ruler. And like let's end that div here right before the YouTube video. And let's make another div with that YouTube video and then end it right after that YouTube video. Center a div. Could you clarify, do you want me to center a div or are you suggesting that I center a div? Like as like a solution to my problem? Just want to make sure. Oh, I thought you were asking how to center the div. No. What I'm asking, it was splitting them with columns. So I appreciate it. Okay. So now I've gone ahead and I've made these columns, but we'll know something a little tricky. So I'm going to do col 6 like I did before, and I'm going to do col 6 like I did before. Let's see if this actually works how I want it to work. It looks like it won't. And that is because what else do I need? It's not enough just to have the class columns. What other class do I need to do that we've had before? So I need to put a div around everything, or around these two columns. A div, and then I need to give it a class name of row, because right now they're already columns. So we want to put this on the same row. So now we'll see that they're right next to each other. This looks a little ugly right now, just because this is so small. But this is what it looks like here. It's not the play around with it, but this is what it looks like here. Zoom in too a little bit. I think that helps. And then I think what would be left is like small changes, but those are the big changes. So to kind of go over what we learned today, 1, we learned about a bunch of different HTML elements and how we can put them together into a website. 2, we learned about Bootstrap and how we can assign different elements class names when we have the Bootstrap in our code, when we have the Bootstrap link in our code, which is found right here in the header, in the head, we can use the Bootstrap class names and make our code look even better. So there's definitely some things I can go ahead and fix a little bit, but I'll go ahead and end it right here and kind of open more towards Q&A and whatever like suggestions you have. So if anyone has any questions, or I guess if anyone wants to see me like do a little extra something to the site, just let me know. Give it a little. Can you pull the Bootstrap cheat sheet back up? Yeah, so another way that you can actually do that is, so we'll go to hackpack/YFW with Mara1, go there. That pulls us to our GitHub. And then we scroll down and we're gonna click here to see the accompanied slides. I actually made this into a little website, not with code. I used Canva. But I made this into a little website, so it's like easier for you to look at. And then you can go to the menu right here, and you can scroll down to basic Bootstrap classes. You can see that right here. So let me also send the link in the chat. And if you want to take a screenshot, then you can too. This is all the relevant stuff. I should be sending right now. Does anyone else have any questions or things like that? That's a question being answered right now. Ooh, I also realized that covers up the cheat sheet. So a couple things I want to reiterate before we wrap up. First of all, this is, let's see what else is on the schedule. Okay. So this is Global Hack Week. You know, we're only on day 2. That's it. We're on day 2. We have a bunch of different things that happened today. If you look, scroll down, we have, oh, I passed it. We have your first website, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, part 1. So if anyone wants to check out that schedule, I'll send it here. If you haven't already checked in, go ahead and you can click this button and it'll actually take you to log in and register and check in. Then let's go, we can check out day 3. Day 3 is, if you scroll down, we are first. I'm going to be doing this again at the same time, but actually tomorrow we're going to be working on CSS. It's going to be less like building our website and more kind of playing around with CSS and being like artists with it. I'll have like a worksheet, and then we'll play around with different things and walk through it together and experiment on our own. Then the last bit will be, I think, on day 5. Yeah, it's Friday. It will be the third part, which it's going to be an hour later. So it's going to be 7 o'clock Pacific or 8:30 a.m. In India Standard Time, I think that is. And we'll be going over specifically JavaScript. This JavaScript will first work on like basic JavaScript, how to make like a little game and like a little game without a web page, just by having like alerts up on your web page. And then we'll go ahead and transfer that into a web page game. And then if time permits, we'll do another game after that. We'll do a number guessing game first, and then if time permits, we'll do some Mad Libs. So yeah, that is it. I want to say thank you all to everyone who was with me so far, everyone who's joined today. It's been really great getting back into live stream with you all. And please let me know what you thought of this, if there's anything that I can improve on, and if there's anything you want to learn in the future, especially when it comes to kind of like basic web dev stuff. Feel free to, add anything to like my GitHub, or things like that. Also, feel free to tweet me as well. I I really appreciate everyone hopping on, learning with me, and I hope that you enjoyed learning while you did it. So that being said, that is all from me for tonight. I'm going to go run and grab some dinner, some of that beautiful Tuscany bean and kale soup I made last night. And I hope everyone else has a wonderful start to their day, end to their day, middle of the day, whatever. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow and at future Global Hack Week events. Okay. Bye, y'all. See you tomorrow. I'm going to end the broadcast.